Hello again, here we are for Scale 4, which talks about equilateral triangle. This is probably one of my favorite constructions. It tends to end up being one of the easier constructions for students. So looking at the word equilateral, you want to think about the root word here, which is essentially equal. So there's two properties of an equilateral triangle that you're going to want to know. So thinking of that word equal, what's special about an equilateral triangle is that it has three congruent sides. So thinking back, congruent means equal, so that means all the sides are the same length. And because of that, it also has three congruent angles, meaning all the angles are the same measure. So those are two facts that you're going to need to know throughout the entire year. So take a second, think about those, and we'll keep referencing them throughout the year as well. But now when talking about our constructions, the next question says, which of these two properties can be controlled by the use of the compass when constructing an equilateral triangle, and then how would we control it? So meaning using only our compass here and our pen or our pencil and not the measuring side of the compass here. Would we be able to control forming three congruent side lengths, or would we be able to control having three congruent angles? And if you think about it, what we keep doing so far is we essentially are measuring when we set the radius to be a certain length. So with that being said, we can control the side lengths. And how we're going to do this, as you think about what Miss Griffin and I keep saying over and over again, is don't change your compass, don't change your compass, meaning the radius, is that allows you to form congruent segments. So how would you control it? Maintain, I might have just spelled that wrong, so I apologize. Maintain the same radius. Probably could have just said keep the same radius, but we'll go with that. Maintain the same radius. So using that information there, see where it says you try? I want you to take your compass and try and figure out how would I make an equilateral triangle such that all the sides are the length of CD. All right, so all you have is your compass. You know that all the sides have to be this length, so whatever this is has to be the length of this side, has to be the length of this side. So pause the video for 30 seconds, however long you want to give that a try, and then when you're ready, restart the video, and I'm going to do the one down here at the bottom together. So if you want to try this on your own, pause now. If not, just keep listening, and I'm going to show you the together one. But pause it. You want to try it. All right, so hopefully you tried that there, but if you weren't able to get it, that's okay. I'm going to go over it with you now. So we know that the triangle has to have all the sides be the same length as CD. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my compass on C, and I'm going to measure, meaning open in my radius and set it so it lines up with D. So the radius is now set to be the length of CD. I'm going to hold my finger here, and I'm going to swing an arc. All right, step one. Now, I'm going to flip my compass, and I'm not going to change that radius because remember, if I change it, it's going to not make congruent segments. That's what we need. Swing another arc. And this point right here, this is going to be the third corner of our triangle. So using your straight edge, connect back. And there you have it. You have an equilateral triangle. So if you didn't get that, pause it, stop, rewind, go back and rewatch it. But I'm going to flip to the next page, and we're going to summarize these steps here so that way you have them down in your notes. So flip over to the next page with me. All right. See, there we go. So it says write a clear set of steps for the construction of an equilateral triangle. All right. So step one, all right, is you need to measure length of desired side. I'm going to say slash segment. All right, so what I mean by that is, in the last example, if I show you here, here was CD. The first thing I had to do is I had to measure CD because the problem said we needed them to be the length of CD. So that's always step one, is measure the given length. It might not be given. You might have to measure something different. So that's why I said measure the length of the desired side or segment, depending on the problem. Step two, with set radius. So you got to tighten that compass, so have it be the length that you need it to be. Swing an arc from one endpoint. All right. So that was where I put my compass on C. I swung my compass up with the radius that was the length of C to D. Step 3. With the same radius, because we don't want to change it, swing an arc from, can you guys see all that? Yeah. From the other endpoint. All right. So that's where I flipped my compass, I moved it to D, and I swung that same size arc so that allowed my arcs to intersect. If your arcs don't intersect, you got to extend them, because otherwise you're not going to be able to find the third side of the triangle, or third point, vertice, I should say, vertex. And step 4 is using a straight edge. Connect point of intersection back to each endpoint. All right. So that was where I had my arcs crossing up at the top, and then I took that point and I drew a line back to each of the endpoints C and D to actually form our triangle. Because what's the worst thing to have happen is you draw all your arcs and you're like, oh yeah, I did the steps, but you actually forgot to connect to make a triangle. Don't do that. All right, so any of those that you don't have down, feel free to pause, jot it all down, reread, go back, underline the key words that stand out to you, all your good note-taking skills. But we're going to look at this last one, example 2 here when you're ready. So it says construct an equilateral triangle. So as soon as I read that, I think to myself, all my sides are going to have to be congruent. It wants my triangle to be named RST, such that the sides of the triangle with a vertex at R. All right, so even just looking at that first sentence and looking at the picture I have here, I have this rectangle here, A, B, C, D, but down here is point R. So this is going to be one corner of my triangle, just one. I don't know where the second one is because this would be considered a ray. Notice how it has one endpoint and this arrow means that it goes on forever. So I don't want to put my compass down here because this essentially would go on forever. So all I know right now is that one corner is going to be at R. If we read the second sentence, it says the length of the side of the triangle must be the same length as AC in the rectangle below. So the very first thing I have to do here is I have to measure the length of the desired side or segment like we talked about up above. And in that scenario, that's going to be AC. So I'm going to put my compass on A, and I'm going to adjust it till it goes to C because the problem told me all the sides had to be this length, the length of AC. All right. Now, what you really should do here is swing a little baby arc, just like I did, to prove to the grader, to your teacher, to a friend that you actually did measure that. You're not just eyeballing it, putting it over your compass. So now that I know that I have that length set on my compass here, I'm going to move it down to R, and I'm going to go ahead and swing an arc. So that was step 2, swing an arc from one endpoint. So there's my arc. And now you might be saying, well, Miss Wesley, where am I going to put the other endpoint? Well, we said it's not going to be this right here, but if I know my triangle has to have all 3 sides the length of AC, well, this is the length of AC. So this point right here is another endpoint of our triangle, and I'm going to call it S, because it said it had to be RST, triangle. So I swung my arc from R. Second, or what are we on? Third step is going to be to now swing it from my second endpoint, or S. Ooh, got a little shaky there. All right. My arc's intersecting, so my last step, here's my point of intersection. That would be T, since it gave me specific letters to use. And if I connect back, voila, equilateral triangle. All right. And when we start talking about congruent segments, a way to denote that for your reader, anyone that's looking at your paper, would be to put little hash marks like that on. So this means that side RT, side ST, and side RS all have the same length. Okay. So that's it for skill 4. So again, read through your steps, make sure you have them all down, that you're comfortable with them, because you're going to use these steps later on in other skills. Go ahead, try your practice problems and your CFU. Over and out till next time.